Motorsport Plus. I'm James, and this is the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio. Oh my god. Woo! That is some serious performance. Oh my goodness. So the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio, or QV for short, aka the fastest SUV that I've ever driven. This thing is nuts. And quite frankly, to call it an SUV, I think is doing the car almost a bit of a disservice. This doesn't feel like an SUV at all to me. This feels like a triple XL hot hatch wearing Ferragamo high heels. It doesn't drive like a performance SUV at all. It is such a unique and jaw-dropping experience, the Stelvio QV. It is awesome. What makes the Stelvio QV brilliant really is its beating heart. So it's Alfa Romeo's 2.9 litre all aluminium V6 twin turbo. It's a 90-degree unit, and it was famously co-developed with a certain Maranello supercar manufacturer, and this engine is absolutely nuts. So we've got 375 kilowatts and 600 Newton meters of torque. That is a shed load of power. In the old money, that's over 500 horsepower, which is insane for an SUV. It is bananas. It's an absolute ball terror from not many revs all the way to the red line. And it just makes the car have this brilliant drivability. The 0 to 100 time on this car is 3.8 seconds. So this thing is out dragging a base 911, myriad other sports cars, and yeah, sort of touching echelons that it really shouldn't be able to touch as an SUV. This thing would embarrass a supercar from 2 decades ago. It would walk all over it in a straight line, which is, it's hilarious to think that an SUV could do that. You just want to absolutely drive the crap out of this car with this engine. It is a true performance engine. It's really clever as well. So, you know, not that you probably want to hear this watching a performance channel, but it's got cylinder deactivation, and around town, it's actually not too bad on fuel, which is such a dichotomy from when you get it out on your favorite twisty road, and it is just an absolute ICBM. It's a nuclear missile, this engine, and I absolutely adore it. So I guess we can talk about that exhaust now. It's hilarious. It is very sonorous. It is very theatrical. There is endless amounts of histrionics. The thing is just an orchestra. And depending on what mode you have it in, it can go from being quite sort of tame when you want it to be in reserve to just an out and out screaming madman, and I love it so much. I suppose we should probably talk about, in conjunction with trying to explain how the exhaust works, Alfa Romeo's different drive systems. So it's their sort of signature DNA drive systems, which is selected by a little knob down on the center console. You start off in N, so every single time you start the car, it starts in N. From there, you can go to D for dynamic, which is great, or advanced efficiency, A. which is for improved efficiency, obviously, and weirdly, if you're planning on doing any sort of soft roading, it's the recommended setting that you have it in as well. There is one more setting for the Stelvio QV that is by far and away its best in my opinion, and that's race. So race does a number of things. It turns off ESC completely, so you do need to be a little bit careful, and it also opens up the exhaust valves completely. You're getting the full orchestra when those valves open, and the tone of the exhaust all throughout the rev range, and the hilarious explosions as fuel is dumped into the exhaust when you change gears. It's amazing. This engine and this exhaust now more than ever just feels like a big old middle finger to the way the performance cars are going with downsizing and EV motors. This is a pure driving experience, a pure performance experience, this exhaust and engine combo, and it's in an SUV. So drive is sent to, look, technically it's a four-wheel drive system, the Stelvio QV, but essentially drive is always sent to the rear wheels. The Stelvio being based on the Giorgio platform, it is a rear-wheel drive base, but the four-wheel drive system is complex and it's really quite good. So essentially it feels like a rear-wheel drive car most of the time, but when the car senses that you need to have some more grip over the front axle, it can send up to 50% of torque over the front axle. So it's a brilliant combination. Should mention as well, this is the updated Stelvio QV, which was updated not that long ago, and they brought with it a number of changes. Key to the driving experience is the move from an electronic diff to a mechanical limited slip diff on the rear axle. That has given this car a really sort of punchy, driver-focused, driver-centric personality. And the four-wheel drive system does offer grip, but this thing can dance as well around corners. It offers you quite a performance car, maybe even you could say a sports car experience in the corners, and especially on corner exit when that diff locks up. It's really quite aggressive, and you can power out of corners with such verve, such vigor and menace. It's nuts, this thing. So yeah, power sent to all four wheels via that complex four-wheel drive system. It's also via ZF's legendary 8-speed automatic transmission, a torque converter automatic transmission. The ZF 8-speed has got to be one of, if not the best gearbox of the last decade. It is a brilliant gearbox, and it's no different in the Alfa Romeo Stelvio QV. It is a great thing because it's a torque converter. You've just got this ease of use for daily duties, just driving around town. So in dynamic, the shift is really quite quick, but in race, it is so aggressive, and you get these pops and bangs on the upshift. And Alfa Romeo actually claimed that it'll shift up and down gears in 150 milliseconds. So in the blink of an eye. It is very responsive, this gearbox. I absolutely love it. In conjunction with these giant aluminium paddles, which just feel like they're hewn from one solid billet of aluminium. They're bloody awesome to interact with. My only criticism is, and this seems to be a common thing with Italian manufacturers, I really wish that the paddles were mounted to the steering wheel and not mounted on the column. I understand why Alfa Romeo and Ferrari and a few other manufacturers want to have it on the column. The argument is that you always know where the paddles are regardless of how much lock you've got on, but look, preferably I would like it on the steering wheel, but my goodness, the action of just wah, wah. It is super enjoyable up or down the gearbox, and the paddles are such a joyous thing to interact with, and they allow you to play with that brilliant motor up front in such an excellent way. It's fabulous. So handling in the Stelvio QV, it's really good. If it's not best in class, I don't really know what is better than this around the bends, and that is fundamentally, in my opinion, down to this car's weight. This car weighs 1,830 kilograms. That is, in 2024, for a car this size and with this much performance on tap, that makes this thing a featherweight. It's actually lighter than a BMW M3 Touring by about 35 kilos. And it's a decent sized SUV. How Alfa have managed to make this car so light is a triumph. I would imagine it's because it's not saddled down with unnecessary batteries or EV motors. It's just a brilliant drivetrain and nothing else. And yeah, the body feels light. The car feels light to drive. Alfa's worked really hard on weight distribution as well. So the Stelvio has perfect 50-50 weight distribution over the front and rear axle. And even if you look at the engine in the engine bay, it's sitting well back. So around the corners, this thing is an absolute joy. And it offers, like I was saying before, it almost offers like a super hot hatch experience on stilts. It's just fabulous. The steering is EPAS, obviously. It's adjustable depending on which mode you want to be in. In dynamic or in race, it weights up a fair bit, but they've done a good job of making sure that it's not too artificially heavy. It is definitely heavier than in normal mode or advanced efficiency mode, but the weighting feels quite organic to me. It's not overtly weighted, and yeah, even though it's EPAS, this car is easy to place on the road. The steering's very faithful, and yeah, it doesn't take too long to get into a really good rhythm with this steering. It's really quick as well, so that really quick rack just adds to this car's feeling of agility and being light on its feet. In normal mode or in advanced efficiency mode, it's nice and light, which I prefer around town or in a parking lot. This car needs to cater to a wide array of drivers in a wide array of conditions, and I think they've judged the steering really quite well. I like it a lot. It's pretty easy these days to really mess up EPAS steering, especially in a sporty mode where you throw in a bunch of artificial weight, but Alfa hasn't fallen for that. They've done it well, and it's much appreciated. Steering is complemented by this car's ride, which is, it's good. It is good for what it is. It's obviously an out and out performance car. There's no two ways about it. And yeah, the ride is decent considering. So we've got double wishbones at the front and a patented Alfa Link suspension set up at the rear. And we've also got electronically controlled dampers. So in normal or advanced efficiency, the dampers are slackened right off. I don't think you could call it supremely comfortable. It is quite firm the whole time. There's no getting away from that. Handily in dynamic, which normally firms up the suspensions, you've also got this comfort slacken off suspension button, which is usually the first thing I press. It's activated now, and that does make the ride a fair bit better and enables you to still have, the dynamic personality in throttle response and engine mapping and gear shifting and the exhaust, but it just gives the car an extra level of comfortability, which it's much appreciated, especially on twisty B roads like the one I'm on right now. There's dips and there's bumps and there's off camber bits, and having that extra breathability with the road is much appreciated. The dampers in their sort of dynamic sporty setting, they're good, but I think you probably want to be on a slightly smoother bit of bitumen, and obviously I think race really needs to be on a billiard smooth bit of tarmac, or preferably a racetrack, which sounds absurd, but oh my god, this thing would be such a riot on a racetrack. One thing that's a little bit, I guess, more controversial for me is the brakes. There's no denying their stopping power. They're really decent for pulling up the car. So You've got a 6-piston Brembo caliper up front with a 360mm disc, and you've got a 4-piston Brembo caliper at the rear with a 350mm disc. So the stopping power of the car is really good. Where it sort of falls apart for me a little bit is the fact that it's brake-by-wire. There's no physical connection between the brake pedal and the brakes themselves. It's all electronically managed, and it's good for the most part, but I just feel like they haven't got the calibration 100% nailed. There seems to be really strong initial bite, like there, for example. I barely touch the pedal and there's really strong bite, but then it sort of goes a little bit soft after that, and then you've sort of got to lean into the pedal quite a bit and modulate it to get it to pull up properly. So it's not a consistent brake pedal. You can't sort of modulate it with consistent pressure to get a nice even stop into a corner. And I feel around town as well that I'm having a bit of a hard time sort of coming to a stop calmly and easily without having a couple of bites at it, it's frustrating. Look, I'm sure for owners of this vehicle you will get used to it and you will be able to figure it out, but initially, yeah, the brakes, although they have great stopping power and there's no early ABS intervention, but yeah, the calibration of the brake-by-wire is not the best. The tyres in this car are pretty decent as well. So they're a Pirelli P0 and they're a decent size. So up front they're a 255 40 21, and at the rear we've got a 285 35 21. So yeah, there's a lot of rubber on the road with this car, and in the dry there is a supreme amount of grip. I guess we should talk about how this thing is on the move on a twisty road. It is so good. I have always been very skeptical of the performance SUV. I just think that it's an almost paradoxical thing to say, performance SUV. It is just so incongruous, but Alfa Romeo have clocked it with this. It doesn't drive like any other performance SUV that I've driven, and yeah, on your favorite twisty road, it is staggering how quick it is. Yeah, you just forget that you're in an SUV. It is bloody brilliant. I'm shook. I am shook at how good this thing is. The steering's right there, and it gives you an amazing turn into the corner in conjunction with those wide front tires, and then once you're into the corner you've got really good body control, and as soon or even sooner than you think sometimes, you can just jump on the gas and just tear out of corners. Can we talk about the way this thing looks as well? Because I think it's one of the better looking performance SUVs on sale. This thing is beautiful, especially in this shade of green, which Alfa Romeo calls Montreal green or Montreal verde for the native tongue speakers. It's got some real presence on the road, some real sort of tension and anger to it, some ferocity that I really love. The scoops on the bonnet, which are functional and help make sure that the engine stays nice and cool, they look fantastic. The wheels, these 21-inch wheels, they look brilliant as well. The quad exhaust, which is just fantastic to look at, and obviously has one of the best noises of any performance car on sale today coming out the back of it. Yeah, there is just some beautiful lines to the car as well. It's sort of got this muscular sort of elegance to it, which I really love. Inside, I'm a bit taken aback, to be honest with you, because it's hard to not read or watch an Alfa review without having the interior sort of poo-pooed as being last generation and, not up to scratch with the Germans and whatever. I am telling you right now, the build quality in this Stelvio QV inside, the interior build quality, it's better than any Mercedes today. I'm not joking. This interior has a feeling of solidity and all the touch points. This leather and Alcantara steering wheel, the fully leather dash, the leather on the top of the doors here, the exposed real carbon fiber, these paddle shifters, which I've already mentioned. The interior feels like a really opulent, quality place to be. These seats are fantastic. They feel like a really nice quality leather, and there is supreme bolstering. These seats almost remind me of like a W204 C63 seats. The bolstering in the side here is massive, and it's adjustable and it hugs you. They also get quite low as well, so even though I'm in an SUV, I've got a really nice H point where the steering wheel has come back to me a decent amount. I'm sitting nice and low, and I feel like I'm sitting in the car, not on the car. There's also some decent practicality to the car as well. I'm 6'2", I can easily fit behind my driving position with a decent amount of legroom and comfort, and there is a huge boot. The infotainment screen it feels a little bit long in the tooth, and it's not super responsive, but it's got wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is all I really care about these days. It's touchscreen, and it's beautifully integrated into the dash. Like, there's been some real design and some care and thought that's gone into where the infotainment sits and the way it interacts with the design of the dash. And that's a million times better than all of these manufacturers today putting a giant iPad essentially and just smacking it on the dash and just going, yep, job done. This is far nicer. It's not intrusive, it's not massive, but it gives me all the information I want, and I have no issue with it at all. The indicative list price of this car is in the mid 160s, and you've got a driveway price of around $185,000, which is a lot of money, but for the amount of performance it offers, I don't think you could say it's overpriced. I think it's probably where it needs to be price-wise. I guess for me, really, the only car that sort of can do this dailyable thing better is like a performance wagon, like an RS4 or a BMW M3 Competition Touring. But look, for a lot of people, they want an SUV. They want the higher ride height. They want the better, easier ingress and egress. They want to be able to feel like they're sitting a bit taller. And, you know, like if your wife tells you we can only have one car and it's got to be an SUV, but you're a performance guy, then the Stelvio QV it's the car, man. It is the car to get. If you're a performance enthusiast and you have to drive an SUV, this is the car. It's quite a high price point, but for the amount of performance and the versatility and the fact that this could easily be your one car, if I had the requisite funds, I would absolutely drop the Spondulix on this, ladies and gents. It is that bloody good. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. We're going to have some other really exciting performance cars coming to the channel in the not too distant future. If you haven't already, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel because it really helps. Leave a comment down below what you thought of this review and what you want to see me drive next. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. See ya. Woo!